Unauthorized opinions expressed on the internet would be censored.
We are live. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cock-a-doodly-doodly-doo, man. Here we are in the post-Trump apocalypse. Can you believe we're here? Unauthorized Opinions, uopod.com. The world is crumbling, don't you know? Trump apparently won an election of some kind. I'm not entirely sure why everybody's crying, why everybody's shaving their heads, saying the world's going to come to an end, their rights are being taken from them. All these things, it's like we're living in a deja vu world where Trump didn't win in 2016, and maybe it's true for some people. 8 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe they were less politically inclined, maybe they were under voting age, but now it's almost like these people haven't seen Trump winning the first time, and these reactions are new, like he's never been in office. Or maybe it's the opposite, and maybe people have recognized that in 2016 people went viral for showcasing their insane reactions online, and they're trying to one-up that. They say, okay, now we've got the baseline, the model is in place, and I have to leapfrog that. I need to do better than that online to get virality, and the women are doing it, the liberal celebrities are doing it. Even the politicians are changing the way they're reacting this time. And it's a very interesting thing. And, of course, we get our election coverage from bbc.com/pigeon, where what and Trump win go mean for the world. This isn't funny, by the way. This is just regular. This isn't a mistake. This isn't a troll website. This is just how BBC thinks that some people in Africa read. That's not me. Wouldn't be to join Arab Islamic Summit way President Bola Tinubu de attend. So, according to Tom Bateman, who's a State Department correspondent reporting from Washington, D.C., I'm wondering if they have a translation in this or somebody writes it for him. But Donald Trump returned to the White House, go reshape U.S. foreign policy, promising potentially radical shifts for multiple fronts as war and uncertainty day for many parts of the world. Now, I don't know about you, but the half of that sentence seemed like it was normal. But let's read on. During his campaign, Trump been make plenty broad promises, way not to get too specific details, based on the principles of non-interventionism and trade protectionism, or as input America first. I feel like some of these things don't have a direct translation. You can't really put a pigged-in spin on non-interventionism. Maybe this is just me. I'm waiting for the, South Central Los Angeles version. I'm waiting for the Chicago, maybe New Orleans. New Orleans is one of the accents that's hard to understand. And I'm not discriminatory. I think there should be a Boston version as well. Bobby, holy shit. Hey, Mark, did you hear? Mark fucking beat this guy. Are you shitting me here? And so forth. It's always Bobby or Mark. Bobby and Mark over at the bar. And everything Boston people talk about is about a woman or the bar. Bobby was over here at the bar with Mark. And I was like, Mark, you kidding me? This chick's a fucking whore. And that's basically everything they talk about in Boston. But so let's get into the reactions here, because this is where the true cream of the crop rise to the top. As I mentioned, they're trying to outdo each other. And we go first to Jimmy Kimmel. And Jimmy Kimmel has cried before. Jimmy Kimmel has cried over healthcare. He's cried over the future. But he's saving some of his best tears for now. And this is obviously completely fake. The idea that Jimmy Kimmel, who makes like $10 million a year, is crying over Trump and what might happen is insane.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go.
I mean, I don't know why it's a bad time for children, and he's saying immigrants, like, we're not talking about illegal immigrants. So 10 seconds in, and no sane person can just listen to this and be like, what are you talking about?
For healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice.
Climate, science, journalism. This is the new tactic. It's the destiny tactic where you just name off a bunch of things that require more than 5 seconds of explanation. And if the person can't, like, you're counting on the person not going through everything to disprove you. And you want this clip of saying how many things have gone wrong, because that's what the voter base is for the Democrats. It's a good amount of people who are just like this, and this, because I saw those in headlines. For science, for journalism.
Justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people.
Justice and free speech. Like, I don't understand. This is the weird thing, is that they just pretend that they were the ones who loved justice all along. They're not the ones letting people out of jail. They're not the ones who riot. They're not the ones who try to censor people. They're the ones that care about America, don't you understand?
For the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
Crying over Ukraine is a new one. That's very interesting. Trump wants to end the war, which is very scary, I guess. I don't understand. This is a grown man. I think he's probably 50 now. He's crying over Ukraine. Okay.
NATO for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. Let's be honest.
You guys are just all stupid. And hey, forget about the fact he's been president before. Forget about that, please. You just don't realize what a piece of crap you are. 60% of the country. Did we get the popular vote on what Dem Witten mean? About a $4 million vote difference there. Trump wins the popular vote, wins all the swing states. Ironically, or maybe believably, all the states that went for Kamala have no voter ID. No comment on that. But who knew that everybody who's voting for Kamala just loved the country, loved free speech, loves the economy. The economy's been doing great, as they'll tell you. And that's where we're at. Even though there's this huge mandate, by everyone's accounts, Trump crushed the other side, you guys are just too dumb to know. And Jimmy Kimmel's not going to shed a tear in actual life for you. He is going to take his millions upon millions of dollars and that he's already paying in California in taxes. It can't get any worse. I mean, if you live under California laws, how can it get worse? You've already been taxed to death. It's already terrible in the streets. There's already defecation and homeless everywhere, illegal immigrants everywhere. So if you're doing all right in that type of environment, you have nothing to lose. So Trump must be, if Trump threatens to take our homeless off the street, I don't want that. If Trump threatens to lower our taxes, I don't want my taxes lowered and the rich people's taxes. I never want to be rich. I want to be taxed just as much as the rich people. I want 55% tax. That's what I want. I don't want homeless people just thinking they can get a job. I want them pooing on the streets. That's what I want. And Jimmy Kimmel wasn't the only one, of course. I believe this compilation was put together by the Daily Caller, which of course is just, screenshotting and putting it into a video. Mark Hamill, they say we get the leaders we deserve. That has just been disproven. Or this is not the America we all thought we were living in. He's already been president, you guys. He's already proven to be a more effective president than Biden. So what are you talking about? Mark Hamill, Jedi Master. What do we got next? Something about Star Wars. I don't know who's this. Who's Dash Dabrowski? I thought Trump's blatant transparency. Oh, is this the guy? Is this the guy from the channel? I think it's Channel 9 News or Channel 7. I think YouTube channel. I thought Trump's blatant transparency about his plans to become a dictator and strip away healthcare and basic civil liberties would trigger the biggest blue wave in history. But I was wrong. Racism, misogyny, and disinformation won in the end. So 60% of the country's racist, half of Hispanics are misogynistic and racist, and we all love disinformation. Isn't that interesting? How it's never I'm wrong. It's just we've got to pile more and more people. A quarter of black men are racist and misogynist. 45% of Hispanics are racist and misogynist. Half of young women aged 18 to 29 are racist and somehow misogynist. They must have internalized misogyny. The majority of young men, etc., etc. It's never a, hey, maybe we're wrong about this. It's, let's keep piling up the amount of people who we must hate. We must get rid of them. The Hispanics, it's time. Quarter of the black men. Hey, if you like Trump, guess what? You're a white supremacist. This was Bette Midler, I believe. Kamal wins. I drink champagne. Trump wins. I drink Drano. This rich old woman actually took time to write these Post-it notes, stick them on two different sides, two different products. Put the Drano in her fridge. Let's talk about that. She's keeping Drano in her fridge. That's not a marker of an insane person. I've got to keep my Drano cool just in case I need to drink it. So she went through all this trouble to post this picture, which is not at all insane for a senior citizen. She then deleted her. Oh, I didn't know this one. Christina Applegate, anchor man, married with children. She says, why? Give me your reasons why. My child is sobbing because her rights as a woman may be taken away. Why? And if you disagree, please unfollow me. That's an interesting perspective. Tell me why, but also don't talk to me. Christina Applegate. Please unfollow me if you voted against female rights, against disability rights. That's an interesting one. I didn't know we were against the disabled. Maybe you could enlighten me on that one. Yeah, that. Unfollow me because what you did is unreal. Don't want followers like this. So yeah, done. Also, after today, I'll be shutting down this something account that I have had for so many years. A few moments later, I apologize. I'm still reeling and sobbing. I'm not angry anymore. Just going to be back to my bubble and watch a shit ton of Bravo shows. So peace to all. I suggest you do the same. Very soothing. Don't think about why I'm wrong. Just go back to being indoctrinated by the machine. It's very interesting that this is the conclusion that women will come to when given everything, right? She's been famous since she was, 16 or 17 years old, world at her fingertips, assumedly has tons of money, and when something that doesn't really affect her, which is the presidency, and she can say it does, but she literally lives in a rich Hollywood bubble where she can do anything she wants. I'm sure she has several properties. I could be wrong, but I'm sure she's doing well for herself. And then an election happens, it goes the way the majority of American people want it, by a landslide, we'll even call it, because the popular vote, a lot of that comes from California and New York, and somewhat Chicago as well. And she's not willing to really look into anything. She has the luxury of just being able to skim headlines and never read into anything at all, and then surmises from that most of people in America are garbage, and she has no problem expressing that to the world and says, don't even talk to me because you're scum. Christina Applegate thinking that you're scum, she doesn't care. She has the luxury of being like, you guys are all scum, don't talk to me, I'll be fine. I'm just going to go back to ignoring everything like I should have been this entire time. Harry Sisson, this guy is a DNC operative, so we don't really need to see his face. He's saying Stephen King, though. Stephen King, famous writer, adds creepy things into his book about children. He says, there's a sign you can see in many shops that sell beautiful but fragile items. Lovely to look at, delightful to hold, but once you break it, then it's sold. You can say the same about our democracy. Democracy as they understand it literally happens. And then they say democracy is broken. I can see the strange argument where you would be saying, you know, dictators have to be voted in sometimes, but maybe the people wanted it. And maybe they were wrong. Maybe the news was wrong. Maybe they said the dictator was a bad guy when he was actually just a normal person who was voted in, and he's not actually a dictator. It's just what people want. I don't know. I'm trying to look at the left-wing side of things here, where they can try to justify their presidential candidate just being selected, but I'm not an author. Obama has a statement over the last few weeks, blah, blah, blah. No, we don't need to read that. Yvette Nicole Brown, do we know who that is? No, we don't. Strange selection, some of these in here. Rob Reiner, what did he do? He just picks Kathy Griffin, or is this just Kathy Griffin saying, hey, here's Trump's head. I still believe in this, perhaps. She's looking good, isn't she? Let's hear what she had to say. Kathy Griffin's looking healthy.
Holy hell.
Okay.
This is what you would see.
This is just a guy's voiceover. So, as you can see, they're not dealing with it well. The Democrats. And this is just a tweet, a random tweet I pulled out here that I thought was interesting because it just showcases a lot of the disconnect with reality with what they're saying. So Cowboy Parker, who's got a bunch of Palestine flags, he says gay marriage is gone. I mean, we can argue about that. Do you want to argue about that? Police brutality legalized. Don't know what you mean by that. Palestine gone. So that's assuming that Trump's just going to allow Palestine to be destroyed, even though Trump has advocated for ending the war. And the Democrats haven't really advocated for anything specifically. They funded both sides, so that's kind of weird. Abortion gone. Again, nothing to do with Trump. There's still many states that allow it. People are just now allowed to vote in their state about it, and there's not a federal mandate. Social Security, you know, Trump was the first one to say, don't increase the age for Social Security, keep it where it is because we will make money. So that, again, that's not true. Welfare programs gone. Never heard him say anything about that. This is just pure left-wing wild speculations. Pharmaceuticals skyrocketed. I don't see how you can claim this. In fact, making insurance or healthcare private actually drives up competition. Try coming to Canada to see how a completely free medical system works. I mean, you can argue for both, but just to be blatantly say that the prices are going to automatically go up when Trump lowered pharmaceutical costs, such as, you know, EpiPens. That's strange. Supreme Court read for 40 more years. I don't know what that has to do with Trump now. He got to select 3 Supreme Courts in his last term, and then just simply listing that the House and the Senate are read. Some of the reactions are also awesome. All environmental protections gone. Okay, I bet you that's not true. The Department of Education. Why do you... This is another thing I see in arguments with left-wing people, David Pakman, Kyle Kulinski, all these guys. They all just herald any federal agency for some reason. The Department of Education. Okay, you can say it's going to be gone or not, but should it be gone? Do you care at all about what it does or how well it does? Or do you just think that the Department of Education, this giant government bureaucracy, inherently needs to exist because you think it produces good? What if it was just out there teaching Trump is the most amazing thing in the world? Would you support it then? I doubt it. So why are you just blindly in support of it? Or is it because you think they're doing a great job with transgender stuff? I don't know. Balls, that's the only thing your boy is missing. That's interesting. Health insurance / Affordable Care Act gone. So health insurance is gone because of Trump. That doesn't make any sense. This will alone impair millions and kill many. No, it will not. Trans protections. What does this mean? This is why I want to show you guys this, because one, we've been over this again. We've been over this already. This has already happened. Trump has already been president. And we get 8 years later, we get 4 years of Trump, 4 years of Biden and Kamala, so we could compare them, and then we just say all the same things again. All this is just attempting to have the best reaction. I want to say the thing that gets the most likes, 7,000 likes or whatever, so I'm going to say it. I want to show that I care the most by saying I'm the most devastated, and look how terrible this is going to be. This is all a competition to show who has the most virtue. That's all it is, because none of it makes sense. You're wearing red, so obviously your support, somebody else says. That's interesting. Interracial marriage gone, somebody says. I like that some of these probably turned into trolls. Ukraine is gone. Stop, step back, take a deep breath and ask yourself, did any of these things happen, aside from political houses turning red? That's a fair comment. Racial profiling now legal in Arizona. A livable earth on its last legs. African American studies gone. Oh my God, here's a comment. Maybe we'll get an answer we want here. In his 4 years as president the first time, none of this happened. Life was good. They relentlessly attacked every single thing he did. Gas and food were affordable. Economic growth. Who would believe this idiocy? He has demonstrably performed well for Americans. Y'all were eating Obama's cooking, babe. That was his economy we're experiencing. How old are you? Okay. So that's the argument there, is that every time there's a good economy, it's the previous president's doing. So therefore, Trump had a good economy because of Biden. Or sorry, Trump had a good economy because of Obama. Biden had a bad economy because of Trump. And even though Biden's economy not good, they tell you it's good, so that when Trump makes it better, they're going to say it was because of Biden. But does this mean that, Biden inherited a good economy from Bush, or Bush inherited? It's only a good economy that becomes inherited when it's Democrats who were before. Fear-mongering forever and ever. Now, I wanted to go to, this is the people's reactions, and if you type up shaving heads, this is a new thing, which I'd imagine this starts as a troll, right? This is women shaving their heads, and I think a lot of this stuff happens is because, maybe one or two people do it, and then all these people the literal trolls, well, maybe not literal, but the actual online trolls will go on 4chan, and they'll conspire, or maybe 8chan, or maybe a Discord, or somewhere else alt-right, and they'll say, hey, won't it be funny if we encourage people to do this on Reddit and other places where left people convene? So they go out and they say, shaving my head for resistance, or shaving my head against Trump, let's all do this. And then people who are perpetually on TikTok or Reddit say, look how many people are doing this, I should do it too. And this is what you end up getting. You end up getting women shaving their heads because they think it's some sort of empowering statement. Your actions are very selfish, and it's only affected the women that have struggled with hair loss, this person says about this woman. Isabella Moody says, women with alopecia or cancer are clapping back at feminists for shaving their heads. Well, we don't want the righteous stuff. We want the liberal women shaving their heads and going insane. You've got to put it to a cool song, right? We've got to get as much tension as possible. Why not just do this without it? I mean, I guess you could claim that you're doing it because you want to inspire other people, but we all know that this woman's going to wake up. Let's get a little bit of music in that. Oh my God, this is crazy. Why would you be playing a sexy song when you do this? So this woman's going to wake up the next day and be like, oh my God, what have I done? It took me 12 years to do this, to grow this hair.
I just have been in Israel for a week.
Okay, we don't even know what that is. American women, you are not oppressed.
There is an extreme and bizarre sense of entitlement and narcissism coming from American women who, contrary to popular belief,
are not oppressed. Very good. Here's another one. Leftist women shave their heads in protest of Trump victory. F being hot. That's what the patriarchy wants. First of all, this woman wasn't hot in the first place, so let's slow our roll here. Let's see what this woman's got to say.
Somebody please tell me why the fuck y'all are out here shaving your heads. All because Kamala didn't fucking win. Please tell me what the fuck is that?
It seems to me like maybe this is a little overblown.
You know, I honestly debated.
Okay, I thought that was a woman. We got another one here. Okay, this is a good one. This is a girl convincing her mother to shave her head, it looks like. When this is the only thing we have left to control ourselves. Now, I don't know. Is there her daughter here cutting her hair? Does she still have her hair, or is she shaved here? Is she covering up her hair so she doesn't get backlash for saying, why haven't you shaved your head? We will not bow down. We will not give up. You have convinced your mother to become some sort of weird, insane, radical feminist and shave her hair. And by the time it grows back, it's going to be gray from all her insane stress and the fact that she's looking like she's probably 50. No offense, but this is just what I think is going to happen. And then we're reciting lyrics at the end, and look how happy she is. You're now a soldier in the war. That was a really extended... Okay, so it's lesbians then. It's not somebody's mother. You must shave your head to join the cult. Women in TikTok are shaving their heads. So these are the reactions of people. They're going out and they're saying, is this Rosie O'Donnell? No, this is just Grandma Shackleton. To all the women shaving their heads to make some sort of political statements, you're being ridiculous. I don't understand. Is this another woman who said she lost her hair to cancer? Yes, it is. Come with me to shave my head and deconstruct internalized patriarchy. That's the music to this woman shaving her head. She's very proud of herself. And she flips off the camera. These are the reactions we're getting here from the left wing. It's complete and utter meltdown, figuring out that the majority of people actually don't agree with you. Because Trump came out and said it all right. Mass immigration reform, mass deportations, no men and women's sports, close the border. We're sick of all this weird stuff that's happening. And everybody came out and supported him. Whether you think that's just about the economy or not, those things were all front and center. And a lot of the stuff they mentioned were not front and center, but definitely culture wars, deportations, economy, stopping the madness, the wars around the world. Those were all front and center. People voted for that. And instead of reevaluating, it's complete and utter meltdown. But I say, the Democratic Party and its constituencies, or its representatives, like Karine Jean-Pierre, they're having a different reaction to this. They're having, much like people around the world, governments and leaders around the world, they're having a much different reaction. They now love President Trump. They now love King Dictator Trump. And when people were saying Trump's mocked all over the world, people don't respect him, it's a very interesting time because they're all talking about how they want to play ball with Trump, even though we were told that he was laughed at. America was laughed at when he was president. EU wants to play ball. Russia wants to play ball. China wants to play ball. It's how it goes. But Karine Jean-Pierre is a representative of the president himself and the Democratic Party. And what they had to say, or what she had to say, is very interesting. So let's listen to her and dissect what she said.
I think what Americans should be assured of is that this is a president that's going to put the American people first. That's what people can be assured for.
Is examination happening at all inside, though? Because as Gabe mentioned, you know, this administration messaged to millions of Americans that they're going to wake up the day after the election if Trump won and have their rights stripped away, that democracy would crumble, and the president said today we're going to be okay. So how do you square that?
I can square that. I'm going to square that in a way that hopefully.
So she's asking, you guys were saying democracy is going to be destroyed, everyone's going to have their rights taken away from them, but Biden came out and made this speech where he said, you know, Trump's not that bad, essentially, and we can't be upset only when we lose. This has led a lot of people to believe that Biden was faking it a lot of the time. The strategy was to act, you know, incredibly and increasingly enfeebled and hope that people have sympathy for him, and when that wasn't working, they just ditched him, and now he wants to burn it all to the ground and ride off into the sunset. That's the belief people are having, and now they're switching gears to make the Democrats look worse and worse, whereas now, after saying Trump is Hitler, he's a Nazi, it's a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden, it's actually not that bad.
Hopefully it makes sense, because I've been answering this question multiple times. The American people made the decision. There was an election 2 nights ago. There was. And it was a free and fair election. And we respect the election process. We do. And Americans spoke. And so the job of the president is to make sure we respect that. The job of the president is to make sure that we have a peaceful transfer of power. That is what the American people deserve. And that's what we're going to, it's not complicated. It's truly, truly as simple as that.
Don't you guys get it? It's so easy. Donald Trump, you know, he's great. This is what we're trying to say. Hey, we might have said, listen, Trump is horrible. He's a piece of crap. All of his followers hate women. They hate minorities. He's actually not that bad anymore. We called them Nazis and fascists and said there's a neo-Nazi rally like a week ago. But now that the Nazis have won, let's welcome them into the White House. The Nazis have won, everybody. Let's welcome them in. Our new president, Hitler, is fantastic. We can't wait to work with President New Hitler. Everything is fine. We might have said that all your rights are being taken away. We might have said that they're going to deport everyone. Everyone needs to be afraid. Women and children be afraid. But now that President New Hitler is in, we can't wait to work with New Hitler. We may have said that you're going to die a week ago. We may have said that. We apologize. What's actually dying now is freedom. Because the election happened, Hitler won, and we'd like to welcome him into the office. We're already rolling out the red carpet for new Hitler, and we would like to apologize for any of his Hitler Youth, any of his Gestapo and SS followers that we correctly labeled as fascists and neo-Nazis, all the Hispanics, all the Jews, all the black guys that voted for Trump and attended his rally in New York City. We get it. We called you fascists, and we said it was a neo-Nazi rally, but welcome. Welcome to the Trump Reich, I guess, and President Biden's correct when he says it's not that bad. You guys are living under Hitler, though. It's not actually that bad. This is how the White House is reacting. It's not that bad. We didn't lie. It is Hitler. They are fascists, but they are now in office. What can you do? We can't resist that, right? And this is the dichotomy of man at play. The political class says, you know, we're going to flip the switch on a dime, pretend like we said nothing, and now all of a sudden Trump's amazing and let's play ball and work with him because we don't want to, you know, be out of job. We don't want to be shunned from the media in the future because we called people Hitler and we said that they were destroying democracy. They flipped the switch immediately, right? The normal people can't do that as much, and they're going to be very confused. And as you can see, we showed you their reactions. They're very confused. They're shaving their heads. They're crying in the streets again. But the political class just flips a switch, and they are back to completely normal. Hitler's gone, even though he won the election. We've defeated him somehow. Tra-la-la-la. So you've got the government response, the celebrity and public response. What are the journalist responses? Let's go over to CNN for that, because what CNN's got is guys and their hosts. What they're shifting to now is, they're going back to what they know best, and that is, you're transphobic, and we got to be careful on Spotify apparently now about this, but they're talking about transphobia and alt-right. We've circled back around. This time maybe the government's not going to be with them because they've learned it doesn't work anymore, but on network news we're going back to alt-right, transphobia, and you guys are all pieces of crap, which is very interesting because it had its rise. It had its meteoric rise from 2017 to 2022, and then it came crashing down like the economy under Biden, and they've decided it needs to come back up or else we've got nothing. So I guess when the chips are down, go to what you know best, but I think it's going to be proven very fast that, it was proven on the election night that nobody enjoys this type of stuff, but some people aren't willing to let that go. So here's a guy on CNN who, we don't use the word triggered lightly around here, but here's a guy on on CNN who gets triggered by calling a man a man.
There are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not. So before this guy talking, the first guy talking is a Republican strategist and a political commentator, and then a liberal's going to correct him and freak out.
Don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys. They're not boys. They're not playing.
Imagine, we all know the reasons why a man would say this, and I feel like we've said this on this show before. Why would a man be so vehemently against defining a boy as a boy that he believes can become a girl? He doesn't even end up saying they're girls. You'll hear he says they're trans girls. But just think to yourself, what are the reasons that a man would do this? And I guess if you want to believe it's because he's protecting them, sure. But think about why a grown man would want that.
Let's just reset for I'm not going to sit there and listen for a second,
because look, this is a really heated issue, right? And Sharmichael, I know you. I know that you understand that people have different views on this. I think out of respect for Jay, let's try to talk about this in a way that is respectful.
Okay, so let me rephrase this since I'm being targeted here.
I don't. You're not. Just to be clear, you are not being targeted.
I am, but it's okay.
I'm specifically saying that I know that you are not intending to be transphobic.
He should know that I'm not. But he wants to sit here and bloviate.
But I want you to.
I want to give you an opportunity.
So the way regular people interpret it,
that's not regular people. That's not regular people. There's no consensus that these are actually boys. This whole thing about trans girls is a canard. We're talking about a tiny, tiny sliver of the population.
That may be the case.
So the other guy is named Jay Michelson. He's a rabbi and an author of the book called God versus Gay, The Religious Case for Equality. And he is advocating that you cannot call a boy who we are doing surgeries on and giving hormones to, you cannot call him a boy, you must call him a girl or a trans girl, which of course is insane. And then he goes on to say, there's no consensus that these are boys. I think there's a consensus. I think everybody who voted is in consensus. I think 95% of people, no matter where they voted, are in consensus that a boy is a boy and a boy cannot be a girl. And the people all around the table are looking at this guy being like, dude. And we talked about before on the show how you can see women's reactions to men like this, where you can see sort of the soul leave their body, right? They sit there and they're just like, I'm protecting trans rights and feminism and all this stuff. Then a guy comes on and he starts talking about, you can't say this about the boys. This is hurtful. This is discriminatory. This is hate language. And you can see the soul leaving the girl's body next to him as she says, these are the guys that are on my side, these weak men. And you can see this all around the table where everybody's like, okay, we have to tiptoe around the child here who can't take mean words or something, or he can't take reality. So the host, who obviously doesn't believe this, you know, she can, I don't know if she says she does, but I don't think there's a chance in hell that any adult who's successful in life would believe any of this, what he's saying. And she said, can we please just be nice to him? He's sensitive. Can we just not describe a little boy as a little boy around him? He's very sensitive. He wants the little boy to be a girl. And if we tell him that the little boy can't be a girl, we're being mean. And that's literally what's happening here. I mean, I mean, you can't really describe it another way besides this guy's getting offended because we want to refer to boys as their actual gender.
But my point in terms of its effectiveness,
just get to your point.
My point in terms of its effectiveness, regular people with children look at these things and they say, you know what, this is a bit too far. I do not agree with this. I don't like this. I think Democrats are going way too much to the left on social issues. They're uncomfortable with it. A lot of people believe that. A lot of families believe that. You may disagree with that reality, but that's why Republicans kept running those ads over and over and over again, because they saw the metrics suggested that they were
lying
working.
in those ads over and over again and using rhetoric like you just used, saying this is boys playing girls sports. First of all, we're talking about 5 people in the entire country. We're talking about trans girls being allowed to play with the people who are in their gender. And if you don't believe, you don't have to listen to me.
There's such women, there's such girls that we have to add the caveat of trans at the beginning and say they're playing in the same gender. If you're listening on audio, consider going to check out the video of this, because the first guy's face here is just so like, what kind of person am I talking to here, where he's trying to convince himself it's normal, it's what everybody else thinks, and it's just trans girls trying to play sports with people who are the same gender as them. It's not boys playing girls sports. Insanity.
Listen to the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association.
But my medical associations, they would never lie. See this weird thing that they've gone to? It's one of their like 3 arguments. The border bill that Trump shut down, that wasn't a good bill. He's tried to steal the election, the fake electorates. I believe in the Republican Party and their original electorates. I love them. But they go to this thing where it's like the language, if you're not exactly specific as to what they want, then you're outrageous and you're insane. There's something at the end here I wanted to point out.
Association, the American
the institutions is what I was trying to remember there. The institutions, the government said this. Biden's economist said the economy is great. The medical associations that have shown to lie say this. Let's trust all these government institutions. But also, the institutions are inherently racist and white supremacists. I hate the police. I hate the government. You see that paradigm that leftists work within? And at the end of the day, I don't like having to say left versus right and everything. And if you've watched me a long time, and I know you have, before, I think probably 2020, I never referred to things as left or right issues because I didn't want somebody to think that I was being unfair. But as the evidence piles up, you have to go to where the correct ideas are. So when somebody says, on one hand, the government and the system is built on white supremacy and racism to inherently favor white people, cops are racist and terrible, and the system is corrupt, and then that same person will go and then say, we must believe the institutions. How dare you suggest getting rid of the Department of Education? The Democrats are amazing, even though leftism has infiltrated every part of the system and the government and the culture. And how can you not believe that when the government tells you that it's doing an amazing job? Those are 2 sides of the same coin, and you somehow simultaneously believe them. Even though they're opposite beliefs, is what I'm trying to say. So how can the government be the worst thing in the world and be racist, while at the same time you must believe in the government and institutions when they say things that you agree with? It's a weird, strange mix. So let's jump on over to MSNBC now, where they are also going back to 2016, and they are going to say, hey, forget about everything that happened, forget about the vote, forget about what American people talk about. Let's just go back and focus on Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes.
The misogynistic trolls feel even more emboldened than ever before.
I'm just a girl standing in front of the world asking for a president who isn't a rapist. Request denied!
The feel when we control your bodies. Hey, bitch, we control your bodies. Guess what? Guys win again, okay? Men win again. And yes, we control your bodies. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. Hi, I'm your Republican congressman. It's your body, my choice.
Disgusting comments like that are going viral. They're setting the groundwork for a massive backlash. The one lesson nobody learned from Trump the first time around was that every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Jesus Christ.
The action.
This is... Hold on, let's keep hearing.
Women's righteous anger. We are already seeing the ripples of another movement based on that anger, and I am predicting we are going to get a bigger reaction than 2017 this time around. It is just a question of when, where, and how.
So obviously they've got their plans in motion here, and I'll get to what that looks like in a second, but you know, everybody's going to have their opinion on Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, the Tate brothers, and whether or not they are good spokespeople for a right-wing movement, even though I doubt they're saying that they're spokespeople for anybody. My point is that these are clips of obvious troll jobs, and then MSNBC comes out and is just like, oh my God, can you believe this? It's just like 8 years ago. So people will come out en masse and say, you know what, we're tired of you know, having to defend ourselves against everything. It's the Eminem theory, right? I am whatever you say I am. So people come out and they say, Trump's fascist, as we've heard, even though Karine Jean-Pierre is welcoming the new fascism. People come out and say, you know, they're stripping away all our rights. We can't sit and stand by while our democracy is being destroyed. And then people are coming back and say, yes, we're destroying your democracy. You lost. Too bad. 60% of the country or whatever voted to destroy your democracy. You know, that's sort of trolling. And then MSNBC takes that and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This is the same racism and misogyny we saw in 2016. It's because you've lost. So when you're the winning team, you get to joke at the expense of the loser. The loser in a playoff football game can say, you know what, your special teams suck, your kicker sucks, your wide receivers actually sucked, even though you won. And then the winner can say, yeah, I guess we suck, but we won the Super Bowl, so too bad, you're going to have to deal with that. That's the thinking here. And then, what was that, Chris Hayes comes on, he says, I'm expecting an even bigger reaction. We're seeing such genuine reactions of people shaving their heads. And that's where we're at. It's exactly the same as 8 years ago. It's 2016 all over again. 2016 all over again. And then it sounds to me like he knows they're planning something. They're planning a little bit of stuff in the streets. And I want to get to that a little bit because somebody told me last week, they said, and this is a person from New York, they said what they're going to do next is, you know, they're going to get the illegals out in the streets and they're going to have them start protesting and causing a ruckus as if they're going to, you know, start a lot of, how you want to call it, rhubarb, you want to call it civic disobedience, you want to call it political unrest. But I said the other day, a source in New York told me on Wednesday, the powers that be were going to be sending illegal immigrants to protest in the streets. It's all contrived and planned. So this person telling me, 3 or 4 days in advance, that they're going to send illegal immigrants out on the streets, that being left-wing government members and not-for-profits and NGOs, that person said both of them are doing it. And he told me 4 days in advance they were going to do this. So immediately I said, tell me what's going to happen after that. They said it's going to get worse. They're going to have gang members join the protests. They're going to have Antifa dress up as illegal immigrants in the protests. And they're just going to start causing more and more ruckus. And a la 2020, the BLM riots, the Summer of Love. So it's very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see the reactions to this sort of stuff, because I feel like people are going to care less. And I don't mean overall people are going to care less that property's being destroyed. I think that's always going to affect people, and it's always horrible, right? But I think what you're going to see from right-wing people who aren't in the president's party or in the president's administration, whose job it is to make sure the country is great again. But I think you're going to see the average right-wing voter, the average Trump voter, say, you guys are destroying your towns, because this is New York. It's going to happen in Chicago. It's going to happen in Los Angeles, maybe. Portland, Seattle, definitely. If and when it happens in these cities, you're going to see more and more right-wing people say, destroy your cities. I don't care. It's up for your local government and your governors to fix it. Because if people burn down Minnesota again under Tim Walz's watch, they were never going to vote for Trump. They never voted for Trump. Or I'm sure a lot of them did, right? Dearborn, Michigan voted for Trump. That's a very typically left-wing area. But in places like Milwaukee, and in places like Minneapolis, and in places like Portland and Seattle, where they love being left-wing, and if they start rioting in these places, I think you're going to see people say, well, that's not my problem anymore. You guys keep voting for left-wing mayors and governors. Have them fix it. Because it doesn't hurt a person in Mobile, Alabama, or Miami, or, name your Republican stronghold or something. San Antonio, I don't know how right-wing that is, but name your right-wing stronghold and your right-wing states, and how are they going to be affected by Portland being taken over by Antifa again? I don't think anybody's going to care about that, but I think Trump and his administration will care about that, because if they fix it, it makes them look that much better. And, of course, overall is better for people. But if you're a person sitting at home from, let's see if I can name a place who voted for Trump. Maybe in Cincinnati you voted for Trump. Cincinnati, Ohio. Or in Pittsburgh you voted for Trump. And you see in Portland, they're burning down, they're firebombing police stations again. They have CHOP or Chaz again. You might say, well, I voted for Trump. I voted for change. If you guys want to keep voting for garbage in the streets and riots and autonomous zones, that's your problem now. You're going to have to demand better from your government. That's what I think you're going to see. Less and less sympathy for these left-wing cities that get burned to the ground. We're going to finish with this, and it's from The View. It's about Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. Surely that's the real name. Reflects on the results of the 24 election, and making history as the first openly transgender person elected to Congress. I think this moment, like so much of the story of this country, is the dual story of both pain and progress. Every previous generation has been forced to conquer seemingly impossible odds much greater than the ones we face right now. And I do not believe we'll be the first generation of Americans to give up on the promise of this country. This is a guy in a wig who's managed to convince a bunch of women to vote for him, to put him into Congress, and he's talking about the plight of the country. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that lovely? It's such a difficult time to be me, even though I'm a guy pretending to be a woman, and I've manipulated women into believing that they should feel sympathetic for this for some reason. Isn't that interesting? But what I really want to leave with is this. And we'll see you next week after this. But this is Michelle Beadle, who appears to be an NBA host and analyst on FanDuel. I think she's going to be fine. She's got millions of followers. I don't want her to be fired. This is just too funny of a clip. We'll see you guys next week. UOPod.com. unauthorizedopinions.com. Support the Patreon if you like the content. Patreon.com/UOPod. If you're listening on audio platforms, please leave a review. Give it that 5 stars, because I'm I'm like your Uber driver. I'm driving you to all the right places. I don't think this girl's going to be fired. She shouldn't be fired, but if she is, she'll be all right. I think she's got millions of followers. It's 2016 all over again. Stop being apologetic for your beliefs. We won. It was a massive victory. Start doing. Don't apologize or be on the back foot. And without further ado, we've got a nice racial slur slip up for you. Goodbye.
Michael Porter Jr. recently said, "Oh, I don't like this. That if the Nuggets don't win this,
that was a good one.
Don't try to get me on that. They might have to break up the team." Lou, are you buying that this is the last dance for the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, I'm buying.
Nuggets.
I'm buying it. Beta, you're gonna be in trouble today.
That's not fair. It's not even a thing. It's not even a word.
Sounded like it.
You would love that.
Listen, anyways, I'm buying it. All good things come to an end.
I don't like hearing it though.
And it feels
We didn't
like
like
we didn't like
hearing
hearing that either. We sure did. I'm sweating. It's all right, Beto. You covered in the cloth. I got you. Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. It's good.
No, I'm sweating.
But listen, all good things come to an end, and it's just like again when you have a championship pedigree team.
Michael Porter Jr. recently said, "Oh, I don't like this. That if the Nuggets don't."
Turn it up, Jordan.